Happy Monday from the New York Stock Exchange. I'm Caroline Woods, coming to you from high above the trading floor. Here's what you need to know to start the week and the new month. Stocks are kicking off November on a mixed note. The Nasdaq is higher while the Dow and S&P 500 are searching for direction. This follows an impressive October. The S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average each gained more than 2% last month. They're only about 1% away from all-time highs. The Nasdaq was the standout in October, though, adding nearly 5% thanks to continued momentum in the AI trade. Now, that strength is carrying over today, especially in the Magnificent Seven tech stocks. Amazon is leading the pack after reaching a $38 billion deal with OpenAI that will utilize hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA's chips. Speaking of deals, data center company IREN also signed a multi-year $9.7 billion deal with Microsoft to provide the company access to NVIDIA GPUs. And Microsoft said it has secured export licenses from the Trump administration to ship NVIDIA chips to the United Arab Emirates. That's part of a larger $15 billion investment in the UAE by 2029. Chip stocks overall are having a strong start to the month, with notable gains in companies like Micron and, of course, NVIDIA. onsemi was higher after better than expected earnings and revenue, but it has given up most of those gains. It's also Merger Monday, and one of the biggest deals of the year is making headlines. Kimberly-Clark announced a nearly $50 billion cash and stock deal to buy Kenvue, the company behind Band-Aid, Tylenol, and Neutrogena. That would put household names like Huggies, Kleenex, Band-Aid, and Tylenol all under one roof. It's a major move for Kimberly-Clark, which has been pivoting toward higher growth, higher margin businesses. Now, if approved, the merger would create a consumer staples giant with $10 billion brands and around $32 billion in annual revenue. Kenvue is the best performer in the S&P 500 today on that news, but Kimberly-Clark shares are sliding as investors digest the price tag, debt, and risk. It's the worst performer on the S&P 500. Also on our radar today, auto sales. EV demand appears to be cooling now that the $7,500 tax credit has expired. Ford reported a 25% drop in its year-over-year all-electric October sales. Kia and Hyundai also saw steep declines. Their top EV models were down between 50 and 70% from a year earlier. And speaking of EVs, Tesla's annual shareholder meeting is set for this Thursday. The big topic, Elon Musk's potential $1 trillion pay package, something both investors and regulators will be watching closely. Earnings season continues this week. We're more than halfway through, but this week brings reports from Palantir, McDonald's, Uber, Spotify, AMD, Robinhood, Pfizer, BP, Norwegian Cruise Line, Elf Beauty, Pinterest, DraftKings, and Wendy's, among others. These results should give us a read into how the consumer is faring and what they're spending money on: food, travel, beauty, or gambling. Expectations are especially high for both AMD and Palantir. Both stocks are up more than 100% so far this year. Palantir reports tonight after the closing bell. It's been an investor favorite, but Wall Street analysts remain cautious on the data analytics company. Also in focus, Beyond Meat. The alternative protein company was supposed to report earnings this week, but delayed the release as it works to calculate the cost of a non-cash impairment charge. Shares are sinking on that news. On the policy front, it's day 34 of the government shutdown, and investors are still watching for signs of progress toward a deal. If it drags past Wednesday, it would become the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Because of the shutdown, economic data has been limited, but this Wednesday we'll get a read on the labor market from ADP. That report will tell us how the private sector is holding up. Also on Wednesday, the Supreme Court is set to hear arguments over whether the president has the authority to impose global tariffs under emergency powers, a case that could have major implications for trade policy. Despite all of that uncertainty, from tariffs to the shutdown, the market has been continuing to power higher. The big question is, can the market momentum continue? Fun fact, November is typically the best performing month for the S&P 500, with an average gain of nearly 2% going back to 1950. More recently, November has closed higher over 12 of the last 13 years. So, history is on Wall Street's side. That's your market update for Monday, November 3rd. I'll see you back here tomorrow at the New York Stock Exchange. I'm Caroline Woods.